Paul Hamilton is on the Wester Hotline as we gear up for Sabres and Leafs tonight. Sabres have a game in Toronto. Always a good atmosphere, at least it feels that way, Paul, because the Sabres beat the Leafs an awful lot. Although that's usually here.
Good, especially from our vantage, because sometimes they like to throw jerseys on the ice,
True.
Paul, and maybe tonight that could happen. There's potential for it.
Yeah, you know what? It's a good atmosphere in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Not in Toronto.
Not in Toronto?
No, they don't care about the Buffalo Sabres, honestly. It's a rivalry.
Well, they
in Buffalo.
better start, Paul, because we're back. We're back.
It's a rivalry in Buffalo. It's not a rivalry in Toronto. They like the Ottawa Senators and the Detroit Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens. They couldn't care less about the Buffalo Sabres.
I will say, like, one thing that can create that, Paul, is when two teams are good at the same time and are for, years and years.
It's been a while.
And that's part of it, right? Like, the Sabres and Leafs, like, when have they ever been good at the same time for more than a year? Like, they played in the conference finals once. But,
that was weird because if you remember Game 1, nobody knew Dominik Hasek was hurt and wasn't going to play. All of a sudden, they roll out Dwayne Rolifson for Game 1, and they win it.
Right.
And then that was crazy. And then Dominic came back for Game 3 in Buffalo after the Sabres split in Toronto.
Yeah.
And of course, the Toronto fans immediately go wild because they can't beat Dwayne Rolifson in the first game. So it was. That's what made that interesting.
And is that the only time they've ever met in the playoffs?
I believe so.
Right.
But you're going to put me on the spot here.
No, I
believe that's correct.
Check.
I believe that's correct.
But that's part of it, right? The Sabres have been so bad for so long. Like, one reason I remember, like, hating Ottawa growing up was they were in your face 2 years in a row. You played them in the playoffs, the battles in the regular season. And it's hard to create rivalries when you're down in the dumps for 14 years.
The one that blew me away was in the division, like they always played Montreal, Boston, or Quebec in the playoffs. They never once played the Hartford Whalers, ever, in the playoffs, which was kind of weird with that division setup that they had for the playoffs.
Paul Hamilton ahead of tonight's Sabres-Leafs game. So, Paul, are you – I kind of want to ask this. Are you consistently surprised that they keep consistently winning like I am? Not to say that it's not earned. It's just they followed up a 10-game win streak with a loss and then another really strong 10-11 games now. And it's kind of like adjusting to this new normal where they are, I want to say, complete. They look like a complete team most nights.
That's the thing. Since it's happening on most nights, I'm starting to get used to it. Take a look at those two games that they had where they got out to the 4-0 lead against Nashville and the 3-0 lead against Montreal and had horrendous second periods. But the thing that really struck me in both games was they had a horrendous second period in Nashville, but they still left the second period with a 4-2 lead. They didn't lose their lead. And then they they figured it out in the intermission, they just calmed down is what they had to do. And they did. And they had a good third period and won. And then the next game in Montreal, they're up 3-0. Had a horrendous second period, but left the second period with a 3-2 lead. So in neither game did they lose their lead totally. The other team dug into their lead, but they didn't lose it. They still had the lead when they left, and both times they played good third periods. They calmed themselves down, played good third periods, and won. That's the biggest thing, because I will guarantee you last year they would have lost both those games. Easily, they would have lost both those games.
And on top of that, Paul, we were talking about the goaltending earlier. I mean, like, statistically, since the win streak started in early December, all three of them have played well, but especially Lyon and Luukkonen. I mean, Lyon hasn't lost in 2 months, and Luukkonen, it feels like, is giving them a good start every time he's in the net. Yeah,
and the thing is, you look at, since this streak started, the Sabres are 18-3-1. So in these 22 games, take a look. Who leads the league in goals against during that time? The Buffalo Sabres do at 2.36. Next is the Detroit Red Wings at 2.48, and next is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They played last night, but at the time, when I did this yesterday before games started, it was 2.52. So the top three teams in the last 22 games are from the Atlantic Division, and the Buffalo Sabres are number one. And what did Lindy Ruff say all summer long? That if they want to be a good team, they had to cut down on the goals against. Well, they're number one in the league in the last 22 games, and they're 18-3-1.
Yeah, the division point, just not to get too off track for a moment here, Paul, is incredible that while they've gone on this streak, like in that stretch you just mentioned, 18-3-1 since December 9th, that's the best record in the NHL in that time. Detroit is second. Tampa has the second best record. Detroit has the third best record. And then Montreal, Florida, Boston are 8, 9, 10. So you have 6 teams in the division are the 10 best teams in hockey since December 9th.
Yeah, and look at the Sabres now. It's going to be difficult for them to get further up the standings. It's going to take a bit because they're at 618. Detroit's 651, and Tampa Bay is at 686. So, it's not going to be easy. But another reason, and that because of their goals against, look at goal differential. You've got Tampa at 49, Carolina at 30, and the Buffalo Sabres at 17 in the conference, tied with the Penguins. The Penguins, Jeremy, and this is I know you always look at regulation wins and 3-point. Look at the Penguins. They have 22 regulation wins, which is right behind the Sabres at 23, who are second in the division. But they still have 11 loser points with those 22 regulation wins. Buffalo has 5 loser points with their 23 regulation wins. That's way out of place. You don't see that very often. Have 22 regulation wins and 11 loser points.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline, looking at the conference. It all makes me think like Sabres Wings in the first round. Let's go. Let's fire it up, right? Like, because, Joe, the format, and it's funny, Paul, I'm not sure every Sabres fan knows the format right now because the Sabres have never made the playoffs in this playoff format.
Yes.
So we can explain this in case you don't know. Like, hey, what do they do? The second and third team in a division are locked in to play each other. And it's one of the quirks that in, what is it, the Pacific? Or is it
the Central. Like Minnesota and Dallas have basically known they're going to play each other for like over a month.
Yeah, because nobody's catching Colorado. Right?
And no one's catching Dallas.
Right. So, like, those two teams are going to play. And, I don't know, in 3 more weeks or a month, we might feel like the Sabres and the Red Wings are in the same kind of boat if Tampa stays hot. So, whatever. It's super interesting.
And the thing is, the reason you could catch Tampa, you have not played them yet. You have 4 games coming up against Tampa.
Those are going to be exciting.
Now, you probably have to win all 4 if you're going to catch them with where they are, but that doesn't mean you can't. And so the opportunity is still there. And you've beaten Detroit both times you've played them, and you're kind of falling behind them. But the other side of this coin is, look at the first team out right now, which is the Florida Panthers. They're at 578. The Sabres are at 618. Next team is the Flyers at 559. So they're starting to put some distance between the teams that are out of the playoffs right now, although I still would be nervous about the Florida Panthers. But that doesn't mean the Boston Bruins are going to catch you or whatever.
You just got to be better than one, right? Like, really,
exactly.
If you don't let someone make up a 6-point gap on you, then really all you got to do, Paul, to make the playoffs is you just got to be better than one of Montreal, Boston, or Florida the rest of the way. And you should be good.
Yeah, just Florida because they're a 2-time champion and they've got the injuries will heal up and they're starting to heal up. They would worry me a little bit coming from behind, but I still think the Sabres, if they just continue to play the way they are capable of playing, are more than capable of holding on to their spot, even if the Panthers find their way into the playoffs.
The only thing, we've called them a complete team, Paul, a few times, and I think almost entirely they are. The one little thing that they still can't figure out is power play, right? Maybe, listen, I think they're proving, though, right now, if you're good at everything else, you can win games not having a good power play. But, man, that power play looks disastrous.
It does. And in the Islander game, that game was close for a long time. Buffalo actually lost the momentum in the game because of their power play. The Islanders in one power play had three grade A scoring opportunities. Lyon had to be extremely sharp on and made some great saves. We're talking like 2-on-1s and, right in front of the net. Buffalo didn't even have a shot. They got outshot 3-0 on their power play, and all 3 chances were grade A's. And then, so all of a sudden, the Islanders took control of the game until the Sabres took a penalty, and then the Sabres absolutely dominated their penalty kill, and took the game back. And from that point on, they were fine. It's not very often you see momentum switches like that in the game from the guys killing the penalties. But that's exactly what happened. The Sabres power play really gave the Islanders a boost until they could turn the tide with their own penalty kill.
Paul Hamilton, Sabres in Toronto tonight for a game against the Leafs as they continue their push to, I won't say lock up a playoff spot. There's a good 30 games left, but they're in good shape. And Paul, one last thing. I don't know if we've talked to you since the Josh Doan news about his extension. Maybe we have. We've had you on a couple times. But the Sabres posted a video of him yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago. They had him mic'd up for a game, and it was cool. We noted a play earlier in a game. What was the Zucker play where we all pointed out the communication? And
Zucker had switched to go in on a forecheck, and you saw him pointing to others to cover.
Who was it against? It doesn't matter. Remember. It's not important. Anyway, with the video with Doan, what they're showing, Paul, something you talk about, and we've talked about this in the past about this team, years where they're quiet versus years where they are loud. And I feel like I can actually see this team communicating with each other on the ice in a way that is, it's refreshing because it feels like it has not always been there.
It's one of the things Lindy Ruff was working on last year. Remember, he said this team's quiet, and it's something that he was working on in practice and in meetings that they needed to communicate better on the ice. And that's another one of the things that Lindy Ruff has gotten through to his team, that it's important that you guys communicate on the ice. I think Lyon helps with that when he's in net because Lyon is a supreme communicator back there with his defensemen. So they hear from him back there. I don't know how much they hear from Luukkonen. I think he's gotten better at it, quite honestly. Now that he's more comfortable in the net. So that helps right away when you communicate to your defense what's coming, what you need to do to get out, and they are much, much better this year at getting out of their own zone than they have been in I don't know how many years.
Yeah. Have you had an updated thought, Paul, on where this all is right now with Alex Tuch? After they signed Doan, they have $13 million in space for next year, and there are a couple guys signed. Benson's on that list, Kesselring. They maybe have to make a move to even create space if they wanted to pay it for him. But I think that's next step. I don't know if they're this good through to the deadline, and they look like they're going to be. What do you do? Isn't the idea of keeping him and almost making him your own rental a stronger idea the more they win?
I would, if I had to guess, I would think that's exactly what Kekalainen would do. I don't know if he would make a trade with where they're at right now. Either way, especially if there's still a chance that you could sign him. I think you can get creative too. Like a guy like Beck Malenstein. I don't think Beck Malenstein is looking to leave here. He's making $1.35 million, and that's somebody I think you'd want to keep. So if you go to Beck Malenstein, or you go to your number 8 or 9 defenseman in Bryson, or even Kesselring, and say to guys, we are for 1 year, we are in a salary cap bind. We will get out of it the next year. If you'll work with us for this 1 year to get us through it, we will take care of you the next year. With maybe 1 year deals that are really reasonable just to get them through. And the guys that are up for contract, I think, would be very open to that, to be able to get them through. So they might not necessarily have to make a trade, although I think they might anyway. I mean, what are you going to do at the deadline? Are you going to be a buyer for a expiring contract but a good player? And does that cost you Jack Quinn, or does that cost you, what does that cost you? Does it take a little bit off your cap type of a situation? Mm-hmm. So, where does that trade fall for you? If it's a really good veteran, do you think about trading a guy like Yuri Kulik? I'm just throwing this stuff out there. I'm not saying that's what they should do. Yeah. As all right, we got to trade one of our young guys, but we're getting one of the best rentals that's out there to help our team, the type of a thing. Do you do something like that helps you that way? So there are different options, including, as I said, having the guys maybe help you out for a year, and then you take care of them the year after.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline, Sabres and Leafs. We'll be listening tonight. Thank you, Paul.
Take care, guys.
in Toronto for a game against the Leafs. And face-off 7 o'clock. Make sure it's not one of those sneaky 7:30 games that it always happens. I go to turn the game on. Like, actually, it's 7:30. But tonight, I believe, is 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
All right,
yeah.
7 o'clock against the Leafs.
And then they're at home Thursday and Saturday. Saturday against Montreal.
Another good one.
Another big one, yeah.
And Thursday is the Kings, who are...
I feel, Paul mentioned they're like Sabres and Leafs have never been rivals.
The Kings are overtime merchants.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just looking they have 8 fewer wins than the Sabres, and it's because they've gone to overtime 8 more times.
Yeah. Montreal's one of those. Montreal's 18 regulation wins on the season, which I think is 5 less. We talked to Paul about the rivalry point there. I feel like Buffalo-Montreal has real potential. Both teams are young. Both teams are good. Like, if the Sabres continue to be a good team for years and years, I think them and the Canadiens are going to be rivals. Which is good. Bring some hate back in our lives.